Good evening, everybody, and welcome here to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the season finale for Season 62 of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. We've run 13 races, we've gone through 3 rounds of the playoffs, 5 playoff races, and it all comes down to tonight. Under the lights at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, one driver is going to take home the championship here in Season 62. It looks like it's going to be a 3-horse race for it here tonight. One driver last week at Talladega got a pretty sizable gap over the rest of his competitors. The question is, can he hold on to it during the course of tonight's 66 lapper? I'm Seth Cole, and here this evening we are getting ready to find out who is going to head into Season 63 as the defending champion of the series. The 3 drivers that's coming down to all have found a championship here in the Talladega Challenge Series. Tim Nofsker with 1 championship, Chuck McClure and Brian Schilling each with 3. They'd love to add a 4th championship trophy to their shelf. We'll see who's going to come out on top here tonight. Now, we do have a Final 4 here in this round, so why am I saying that there are only 3 drivers in competition for the championship title? Well, the reason being, as we take a look at the point standings here, is the fact that, unfortunately, for one Brian Rawson, he currently, after a DNF last week at Talladega, sits 29 points out of the points lead. There are only 29 drivers taking the green flag here tonight, which means that Brian Rawson would have to win the race, Chuck McClure would have to finish dead last, Nofsker and Brian Schilling would not be able to finish inside of the top 20. The odds of that are slim, but then again, it's super speedway racing, anything can happen. So we'll have to wait and see, but mathematically and in likelihood, that is not going to be something that will take place. So, unfortunately, last week was kind of the do or die for Brian Rawson. It now is a 3-horse race. Chuck McClure, 9 points over Schilling, 10 points over Nofsker. So, not counting bonus points, Schilling has to finish 10 positions ahead of the 17. Nofsker has to finish 2 positions ahead of the 4 and 11 positions ahead of the 17. We'll see if they can get it done tonight. If Chuck McClure runs into some early issues, that opens the door for Schilling and Nofsker to capitalize. What will we see here this evening? Only time will tell. Final random qualifying draw puts Josh Metallic on the front row for this finale. He'll be alongside of Bob Dixon. John Godfrey will share row number 2 with Jessica Shelton. Doug Kulik will complete the top 5 as Tim Nofsker will be the highest starting of our Final 4 championship competitors. He'll be rolling off on the outside of row 3 in 6th. Glenn Harris and Grant Wesley, they're going to be back in row 4. Row 5, Randy Waugh and Ron Hagelin. Greg Palmer and Donnie Garrett back in row 6. Row 7, Ulysses Sandoval and Bob Seminara. Row 8 will find Dante Ricky and Jeff Cravello. Emmanuel Hartnett, Keith Bynum back in row 9. And then a couple of your championship competitors, Brian Schilling, Chuck McClure, are going to be right beside each other back in the completion of the top 20. Mike Mangialardi, Joe DeSpirito, they're back in row 11. Row 12 will be Mark Paglia and Terry Bombard. Row 13, Bernie Mobbs and Javier Negron. And the rest of the field, Brian Rawson, Cy Jones, and Kelly Causey. Last week, we saw our first non-playoff driver go to victory lane in the postseason, that being Mark Paglia. Chuck McClure finished up in the podium, netted the most points of the 4 championship drivers heading into this final round. Nofsker and Schilling both had decent runs, but they were in 11th and 12th, and thus the points gap to McClure coming into tonight. Well, this is championship week here in RTG. Congratulations to the champions in the other 3 series that ran Monday through Wednesday. Sean Prime taking the championship in the Monday night Barebones Racing Series. Tuesday nights belonged to Brian Schilling as he takes the Speed Freaks Championship. And then last night in the Lightning Truck Series, Grant Wesley won the second of the doubleheader races in the finale to pick home the championship there. Who's going to be the champion here in the Talladega Challenge Series? Odds are it will be a former champion in either McClure, Schilling, or Nofsker. We'll have to wait and see who it's going to be. Who's going to get the final checkered flag of the season? Can we have another non-playoff driver win here in this round of 4? Josh Metallic, former playoff contender, got eliminated in the round of 8. He's going to be the one to bring us down to green, looking for his second checkered flag on the season. Bob Dixon looking for his first. 66 laps here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Long road still to go with the championship trophy hanging in the balance. And the green flag is waving here in the final race of Season 62. Down the back straightaway, Metallic will stay committed to the inside line. John Godfrey pulling up to his back bumper with a good push from Doug Kulik. Here comes the top. Bob Dixon with help from Jessica Shelton. Almost dead even going into 3 between Metallic and Dixon. Now that inside line gains a bit of momentum through the center of the corner. Let's see if the top side can get the momentum off and through the tri-oval. Dixon's got a good run. Who leads lap number 1 here tonight? I think it was Metallic. Scoring will agree. Josh Metallic going to lead lap number 1. Starting to see a third line for him in there. Brian Schilling's already gone to the top. Keith Bynum, Ron Hagelin. That's Greg Palmer moving up there as well in the 22. That's going to stall out that middle line as more and more numbers start waning from the center lane and moving up to that third line. That's going to help the inside line here in the long run. It's interesting because we talked down the home stretch and into the playoffs with drivers like McClure and Nofsker and Schilling, who we always see working together, and asked them what them all making the Final Four, at what point is it every man for himself? Well, I almost think that with the fact McClure was able to gain a advantage over Nofsker and Schilling, I think it's every man for himself now. I don't even know if you'll see those 3 drivers working together here tonight. Maybe you will. But I feel like if you're Nofsker and Schilling, especially with the fact you didn't even get a top 10 in last week's first race of this final round, you got to go into business for yourself here. Metallic continues to show the way. Godfrey, Kulik, and Harris right now, your top 4. Glenn Harris looking for some redemption. Last week, he was en route to a great run, was running inside of the top 10 before getting caught up in the race-ending yellow and finished outside of the top 20. Looks like Randy Waugh may also be clear in the 5th position on that inside line, as both the middle and outside lines, as soon as they gain the momentum, they have lost it, and they are starting to fall back. I want to give a shout out to my broadcast colleague, Michael Norman. Michael currently stranded in Cleveland. Bad weather down in Florida, postponing his flight. That's why Michael is unable to be here tonight, but should have him back in the booth and ready to go when Season 63 airs here on the Flatout Racing Network. It's going to start up on August 29th. These drivers will get a well-deserved 2-week break before they gear up and begin the 63rd season of the Talladega Challenge Series. And we're going to have ourselves a defending champion going into that season. The question is, who will it be? Tonight decides that very question. We've also got the bracket championship continuing on tonight. Bob Seminaro was able to best Joe DeSpirito last week. DeSpirito, by virtue of being the winner on the winner's side of the bracket, gets an automatic rematch here tonight. So Seminara, DeSpirito, one more time for the bracket championship this evening. Highest finisher will claim that title. Right now, Seminara, the highest of the two. You see him right there in the 712, somewhere around, let's say, unofficially the 8th or 9th position. DeSpirito much further back. Last time by across the line in 22nd. We're looking at the Nature Boy Donnie Garrett up there on the top side. Garrett's had some good numbers here the last couple of times we've come to Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, and running solid again, making his way up to the front. Started 12th, now side by side with Hewlick for 3rd, getting a big shove from Tim Nofsker. And there's our Wednesday night champion, Grant Wesley, and our Tuesday night champion, Brian Schilling, nose to tail there, 3rd and 4th in that outside line. Then you've got Chuck McClure there as well, the current points leader in the championship standings, and then last week's winner, Mark Paglia, in the 28. Pretty cool to see Paglia get that win last week, sporting the Robbie Nice's tribute decal on the right side of the back bumper of his machine. And caution is out for the first time tonight. I thought I heard some potential wheel spinning, but I wasn't certain if that might have been maybe somebody just getting on the apron or if there was a wreck. Our camera shot didn't see it. Must have been towards the rear of the field, but you saw the yellow lights displayed there down the back straightaway. So Donnie Garrett, after taking the lead, will bring us back to the start-finish line, pick up the caution, and the Robbie Nice's tribute pace car. Yeah, some skid marks there in 1 and 2. Cy Jones might have been involved there. Jessica Shelton, Ulysses Sandoval, Kelly Causey, all quite a ways back. No visible damage on these machines, but then again, it's kind of hard to really tell when a driver has damage. The damage model a little deceptive here. Let's go back, take a look at what happened. Looks like maybe some checkup going on into turn 1. Watch the inside line with Cy Jones. Yeah, he got some help into the corner from the 31 of Bernie Mobbs. It was all over his back bumper. Jessica Shelton spins around there trying to woe up for the incident. Ulysses Sandoval gets a little piece. Not sure Kelly Causey was involved in it. I think he might have just gone to the grass to avoid. See if we get another camera shot there. It was kind of hard to tell, but definitely the 31 pushed the 7 into the corner. Question is, though, did the 7 check up? Oh, Cy got pushed, literally got pushed into the back bumper of Joe DeSpirito. Oh, and Causey did get involved. He got clipped in the right rear. And unfortunately, the very avid campers in the infield blocking our shot there of the cars going into 1 and 2. Let's see if this will give us another look. No heavy contact sustained really by any of the drivers involved. Very light contact. This is, I don't think, even was involved. I think he was able to get through without any contact whatsoever. So if you can call it a harmless wreck, I don't think any of these drivers are going to have damage that will put them off the pace, if any damage at all. They might need some tires, but that'd be about the extent of it. And that puts us under the caution for the first time here tonight. Just had the battle off of pit road. Looks like all but 7 drivers hit pit lane, and Donnie Garrett won the battle off of pit road. Looks like Tim Nofsker, Brian Schilling, Chuck McClure all stayed out. That's interesting because I think all 3 of them had the same idea where they want that bonus point for a lap led. Bonus points do count here this evening. And if you can get that 1 bonus point, it could be the difference maker between whether you're going to win this championship or not. So we'll see if Nofsker comes to pit road, does Schilling then stay out to get a lap led bonus point? I don't know if there's enough pacing laps where all 3 of them can lead a lap here out of this caution period, but this is some very interesting gamesmanship going on right there. And there's Brian Rosslin right behind them as well, the 4th driver in the championship 4, but as we mentioned, is in a must-win situation tonight and would need McClure to finish dead last and Nofsker and Schilling to finish outside of the top 20. Looks like Bernie Mobbs, Jessica Shelton, Cy Jones also staying out this extra lap. Let's see who makes the dive onto pit road this time out of turn 4 and who stays out. Schilling's quite high up the racetrack, so it looks like he's planning on staying out still. And Nofsker, ooh, I was wondering So Nofsker's coming in, McClure's coming in, Rawson's coming in. I was wondering if Nofsker was going to stay out another lap to defensively stop Brian Schilling from getting the bonus point, but Schilling will stay out. He'll get the lap led, and he'll probably be on pit road next time by turning the race lead back over to Donnie Garrett. I appreciate everybody tuning into our coverage here tonight, the season finale for the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. Again, next time that you see us here for RTG, we'll be starting up season 63. August 29th will be the Thursday night that will kick the season off. As we understand it, 14 races on the season, much like this season, with the 8 regular season races, 6 playoff races. We'll have the off week for Thanksgiving in between all of that. Also be sure this Saturday night to join our colleagues over at JTN, Johto Network, as they will be bringing you coverage of the Bomb Squad Racing's Robbie Nisus Memorial. Going to be going live at 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on JTN. A lot of the drivers you see here tonight going to be taking part in that event, and I don't know if it sweetens the pot or not, but yours truly may or may not be fielding a car in that event as well. A great race for a great cause, a great memorial for a great sim racer. Of course, we've seen it this season here, midway through the season. We unfortunately lost Robbie Nisus, longtime driver here in RTG. Bernie Mobbs coming in with the Robbie Nisus tribute pace car that we see pacing the field here this week. We saw it debut a couple of weeks ago. Mentioned about Mark Paglia picking up that win last week. See him right there, the 4th car in line with the Robbie Nisus 54 decal on the right side of his rear bumper. Going to be a very emotional race on Saturday. Hope you will join JTN and be a part of it to help pay tribute to Robbie Nisus. I believe the next time that you will see us here on FRN is going to be August 17th, when we will be bringing you coverage of the second Talladega Nights Mega Team Race. But keeping tabs on that, I think we've got 10 teams for this upcoming second iteration of the Mega Team Race. Should be good. I'm telling you what, it was a lot of fun to watch the sprint races in that main event in the first one. And should be a lot of fun to see how the strategy now unfolds in preparation for the second iteration of the Mega Team Race. Again, that's going to be on August 17th. And we'll be more than likely going live somewhere around the 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time mark. So lights are out. Top the pace car. Donnie Garrett did indeed re-inherit the lead. He'll have Josh Metallic to his outside, Mark Paglia, Emmanuel Hartnett in row 2, Randy Waugh, Bob Seminara row 3, then Doug Kulik, Dante Ricky, Terry Bombard, and Joe DeSpirito are going to be the top 10. We can talk and talk till we're blue in the face about the 3 drivers battling for the championship, but let's not forget about the other 26 X Factors in the field that all want to end out the season with a checkered flag. We've seen during the course of these playoffs drivers that are battling for the championship in the middle of double wide, 3 wide racing, swept up in incidents caused by non-playoff drivers, but the non-playoff drivers are out there with something still to battle for. So as a championship driver, you have to weigh your options of, do I feel safe in this predicament? Should I throw out the parachute, maybe drop out of this? A lot of strategy goes into being a playoff driver, because everybody else out here, they're not obligated to let you by just because you're a playoff driver. They are going to battle tooth and nail for 10th position just as much as they are going to be for the race win. And so Chuck McClure and Tim Nofsker and Brian Schilling, they have to weigh those options here tonight. Figure out if they want to go full offense, maybe rein it back, go a little defensive depending on situations. Everybody else here tonight, I think they are full offense. It's basically checkers or wreckers for them. because it is the final opportunity here tonight to get a checkered flag in Season 62. You saw an interesting restart back there in the midway portion of the field. Terry Bombard pulled down to the inside of the racetrack like he was going to let drivers by, and Keith Bynum in the 63, who was right behind him, did not get a very good start. Not certain what communication was going on there. It looks like they've gotten all up to speed, though, so that's at least a good thing. We didn't have a stack up there on the restart. And Josh Metallic trying to power around the top with help from Emmanuel Hartnett. Looks like he's edged ahead here, heading into the tri-oval, and man, big momentum now for the 39, as he will clear both the outside and the inside line. He'll stay up there on the top with the 83. Hartnett might be clear now on Garrett. Bob Seminara looking to do the same. Dante Ricci, nice to see him back in the field here tonight. Limited schedule for him. I think he's only run one race this season, if I'm not mistaken. But we've seen Dante Ricci in the past run the Tally Challenge on a part-time schedule and still find victory lane. Maybe he can do it tonight. Third line, Foreman up there. And it's the points leader, Chuck McClure, leading the charge. Javier Negron back there with him. Dante Ricci shading up to the third line with Doug Hulick. They see that line coming. Greg Palmer's going to move up there. Emmanuel Hartnett with a little shade there up to the top on Josh Metallic. All these drivers in the middle line got one eye out the windshield, one eye on the mirror, seeing what kind of momentum that third line gets. Is it worth jumping up there in front of that line? Meanwhile, Donnie Garrett would love that middle and outside line to get 3 wide, because that would help the inside line once again, where he, Mark Paglia, Randy Waller, Earl nose to tail. Jeff Crivello now, last car in that middle line. You see right there, he's going to lose touch with Doug Hulick, gets put into the sucker hole, and he's going to start dropping back. Now Hulick losing some momentum. Seminara is going to get out of dodge. He dips to the bottom. Looking now for the race lead on Josh Metallic. It looks like he could maybe get to the left rear quarter panel. Looking for a push from Donnie Garrett down the back straightaway. Big shove on the outside line. Here comes Palmer in the 22. 3 wide for the lead. Seminara on the bottom. Metallic in the middle. Palmer on the top. Off of turn 4. Only 4 cars in that middle line, but they're somehow holding court with the near 10 cars on either side of them. Seminara, I think, might end up leading that lap. Scoring update says it was indeed the 712. His first lap lead of the night. Just barely edging out Greg Palmer. 4 thousandths of a second, it said, the 712 over the 22. All 29 drivers throw a blanket over him, less than a second and a half separation from Seminara back to Sandoval. And now that middle line and outside line, you start to see the momentum waning. They've fallen back now to 3 wide for 5th as Seminara, Garrett, Paglia, and Randy Wall have got themselves all clear on the bottom of the racetrack. Bring you up to speed on last time by. Where were the 3 remaining championship competitors scored? Chuck McClure was scored in the 5th position, but then he dropped to 12th the following lap. Brian Schilling's currently all the way back in 22nd. Knopfsker not that much better in 18th. Ryan Rawson in a must-win situation, currently scored in 26th. Chuck McClure back there moves from the top down to the bottom. trying to move his way back up into the top 10. Right behind the 10 of Terry Bombard. A lot of slicing and dicing. A lot of drivers moving from bottom to middle, middle to bottom, middle to top. Trying to find any kind of momentum to move forward through the field. But Seminara very committed to that yellow line. Looking to capture the bracket championship. 4 cars behind him is his competitor for that. Joe DeSpirito trying to close up. Remember, DeSpirito ended up winning the winner's side of the bracket and kind of sat back, waited for everything to unfold down the loser's side of the bracket for 4 or 5 weeks. Finally figured out who his opponent was going to be in Seminara. Seminara bested him last week. DeSpirito with the rematch. Now trying to find his way up here. As now Seminara moves up to the middle line, gets a shove from the 28 of Mark Paglia. Kelly Causey gets kicked up to the 3rd line all by himself after starting shotgun in the field. Had made his way up into the top 10, but now he's going to fall outside of the top 10. Looks like he'll get picked up by Brian Schilling. Schilling, Novsker, McClure, all still in pretty close proximity to each other, all around the mid-pack area, from about maybe 11th back to 15th, 16th place. That always seems to be the case here, whether it's the start of the playoffs or the final round with the Final Four. The playoff drivers always seem to find each other, which is why, while it may not seem like a huge problem with Novsker and Schilling finishing 11th and 12th outside the top 10 last week, but the fact that Chuck McClure finished up inside of the top 3, that's quite a number of points, 9 and 10 points respectively, to have to make up in a series where the playoff drivers always seem to find themselves within 1 or 2 positions of each other. You can't make up 9, 10 points on just 2 or 3 positions gained. Now, we should also point out as well that Tim Novsker and Brian Schilling have both led a lap. Chuck McClure has not. So if we're kind of doing the live point standings right now and adding in the bonus points, then Schilling is -8 and Novsker is -9. If Chuck McClure gets up here and leads a lap at any point, then the bonus points gained there by Schilling and Novsker are null and void. Seminara pointed his way into the playoffs. He was eliminated in the first round. He's currently running the highest in the point standings of those drivers that were eliminated in the first round, but still searching for that first checkered flag of Season 62. It's been a bit of a winless streak for driver 712, and he'd like to snap that here this evening. Field is quite strung out here. Now the inside lines become the middle line. Donnie Garrett now is leading the bottom. Kelly Causey, who fell back to Brian Schilling, they're trying to move back forward on the top. Joe DeSpirito moved from the bottom to the middle. He's going to pay the price for that as he's now in the sucker hole. Here comes Dante Ricky with a nice move to the inside of Emmanuel Hartnett for 4th. Seminara sees that. He'll move down to the bottom. That might not have been the best choice. Ooh, now he's having some warp problems right at the very front of the field. Here comes Paglia with Josh Metallic on the top. Dante Ricky, no choice but to push the 712, and look at the run that 3rd line's getting. Causey, big amount of momentum for the 00 as he carries nearly 201 miles per hour into turn 3. I wonder if the side-to-side there of the 712 was causing the inside and the outside line to check up a bit, and the 3rd line said, this is our moment, let's go. Now the middle line has lost its momentum. Paglia, Metallic, Hartnett falling back. It's now Seminara versus Causey, the inside line versus the outside line. Now Causey moves down to the middle. That will have Brian Schilling leading the top line. Uh-oh. somebody just disappear? Yeah, they did. Woo! That was Seminara. And at some point, you got to wonder if they're going to ask him to drop back. That'd be a tough break if he has to drop back from the race lead. Oh, but this is not the good kind of warp, because if the 84 gets any kind of a run and the 712 disappears, he could reappear inside the 84's front bumper. And that'd be a wreck right at the very front. We'll have to see how this one plays out. We're getting close to when these drivers are going to have to start thinking about green flag pit stops as well. As now Seminara, yeah, he's going to have to drop to the bottom and fall to the back of the pack. That is a tough break there. There's so many things that's out of a driver's control when it comes to sim racing, and unfortunately, internet connection is one of them. And it bites Bob Seminara here. Now hopefully he can stay up with this pack and not lose the draft after having to fall back there. Had to scrub off a lot of speed in order to let the entire field on by, and I don't know if he's going to be able to stay in touch with Cy Jones or not. Dante Ricky, by the benefit of the 712 having to fall back, now he is the race leader in the Wawa Buick Regal. Chuck McClure, here comes the 17. Remember, if he leads a lap, that takes away the bonus points gained by Schilling and Nofsker. And he's got Kelly Causey pushing him. How much wheeling and dealing went on here this week amongst the championship drivers, trying to find allies to help push them, if not to a victory, at least ahead of their championship competitors. McClure's not going to be able to get it done this lap, it doesn't look like. I think Dante's going to get him at the stripe. McClure will try and continue to push that momentum. Actually, hold on. Nope, okay. Scoring had to update itself. For a moment, it had Chuck McClure as the leader, but now it has him relegated to second. Dante did lead that lap. I will admit, I lost track of what lap we went back green. So I know we're in the vicinity here where these drivers are going to have to come to pit road somewhere within the next 5 laps. I know that, but I don't know the exact number of when these drivers are going to have to pit. I think the caution came out, I think it might have been on lap 3 or 4. So we're probably looking at them having to come to pit road, I would say, but prior to lap 30. Seminara, I believe, just made a pit stop. We'll double check on that and see if he did. Yeah, it looks like he did. He just made a pit stop there. But pitted all by himself. Keep an eye back there on the red STP Dodge of Bob Dixon. He's usually the indicator for us of when they're going to be making green flag pit stop cycle. Usually one of the first ones on pit roads. They're going to catch Seminara and put him a lap down. Here comes Nofsker onto pit lane with Dixon. And Bernie Mobbs. This is interesting. Tim Nofsker coming down pit road. He's not a usual early bird to pit lane, but maybe kind of doing something different here. New page in the playbook with a championship on the line. Why not? Dixon and Bernie Mobbs down there with him, so he will leave pit road with some drafting partners, not all by his lonesome. I wonder if maybe his thought process is if he can get his pit stop done quickly enough and something happens here with the other groups coming to pit lane, he might be able to catch a yellow and gain all that track position back. Here comes a big group onto pit lane here, led by race leader Donnie Garrett. Make that Dante Ricky, rather. Donnie Garrett in as well. Randy Waugh, Mark Paglia. Looks like everybody in this group all getting onto pit road safely. Nofsker left without his drafting partners. He got a much better pit stop than Mobbs and Dixon did. And Chuck McClure, by the way, guys, just led that lap. So bonus points out the window. You still have the bonus point for most laps led that could be up for grabs. But in terms of the one bonus point for leading a lap, it is null and void now. We're back to even points between McClure, Schilling, and Nofsker. '17 coming in this time. Schilling as well. Grant Wesley cutting low on Nofsker just across the nose of Kelly Causey. Looks like everybody gets down pit road safely of this group. Now it's a question of what happens from the entrance of pit road to the exit of pit road. A lot of contact can occur while on pit lane. Drivers getting boxed in, potentially spun out on pit road. Then, of course, the speeding police, always vigilant. Somebody gets hit with a speeding penalty, could be their opportunity at winning this race over, and in terms of our remaining championship 3, could be their championship hopes over. We're looking at the 84 of Dante Ricky, who I believe is going to recycle around as the race leader. He's got a few cars up here leaving pit road. He's got to bypass. Dante is fully up to speed. These drivers just now making their way off of pit road and going to try to get up to full speed down the back straightaway. So far, I've not seen anything of a driver receiving a penalty. Grant Wesley actually won the battle off of pit road there of that final group. One of maybe the most aggressive on pit lane. Optimizes gaining track positions on pit road through his aggressive entries. The pit stop play may not have worked out for the 088 of Tim Nofsker. Well, no, he is going to be up in this lead pack. Never mind. I was looking at scoring. It showed him 9 seconds back in 19th, but it hadn't yet updated. He is back there, if I'm eyeballing it, maybe around the 13th, 14th position, and he's right there behind Joe DeSpirito. So we will have McClure, Schilling, and Nofsker still up in this lead group. Didn't necessarily gain him the track position that I think he was looking for. I think he was looking for a caution to maybe help him gain the track position. But hey, he's still up in the lead group. He's still got a shot at this thing. I like the call. I like the call of doing something a little bit more unorthodox with coming to pit lane sooner than your other competitors. Now, the one thing that it will be interesting to see is I believe he pitted 2 laps sooner than Schilling and McClure. Are they all going to be able to make it on the same number of pit stops, or does that put the 088 at a disadvantage in that regard? I think they're all going to be able to make it on one more pit stop. So I don't think that put the 088 at a disadvantage. So Dante Ricky re-inherits the race lead. Donnie Garrett will be second. Randy Waugh, Mark Paglia, and Emmanuel Hartnett in the top 5. Looks like everybody is still on the lead lap, even after that cycle of pit stops. All 29 cars still running after we've only worked 1 caution. That was in the early going of this race. About 3-4 drivers involved. No heavy contact sustained. And all drivers that were involved have been at one point up inside of the top 10 here tonight after that caution. We've been keeping an eye on our championship battle. Chuck McClure right now is the highest running of the final 4. Came into this one as the points leader. 9 points in hand over Brian Schilling, 10 over Tim Nofsker. Those points remain now, even after because of the bonus points canceling out. Schilling last time by scored in 10th. Nofsker scored in 13th. They need to get by McClure, and then they have to have a pretty sizable gap between themselves and the 17. Brian Rawson currently running in 17th place. It's looking more and more unlikely here. It was quite unlikely even before we started this race that he mathematically could snipe this championship. With the more laps that McClure, Schilling, and Nofsker continue to run up here inside of the top 10, that effectively mathematically takes Brian Rawson out of winning this championship. But I just noticed Schilling and Nofsker making a move on the inside line. Chuck McClure, while he may not have wanted to abandon the middle line and jump to the bottom, he did so in front of Grant Wesley, I think, for no other reason than to make sure that he is ahead of the line that his championship competitors are in. We asked Chuck last week, what do you do here tonight? Do you go on the offensive? Do you go on the defensive? He said a little bit of both. Right there, I think we saw the defensive play out of the 17. Let's also not forget, Chuck McClure and this place have had a pretty good relationship, especially here in the playoffs. This was the elimination race in the first round. Chuck went to victory lane. It was the elimination race to get into the final 4 in the round of 8. McClure went to victory lane there as well. He's 2 for 2 in the last 2 starts here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. And right now, up inside the podium, P3 may look for 3 in a row here at this venue to cap off a championship season. Now, while we do have all 29 drivers still on the lead lap, we do have some drivers that did lose the pack during that cycle green flag pit stops. Bob Dixon, Bernie Mobbs, Bob Seminara, Jeff Crivello, Mike Mangialardi, and Cy Jones. Jones right now, last time by, is about roughly 17 seconds ahead of this battle for the race lead. You just barely might have been able to see him there going into turn 3 and 4 when the leaders were coming off of turn 2. So they will catch him more than likely if we continue to trend green. But then it will be a while before they get up there to Mike Mangialardi and Jeff Crivello, who right now are only about half a lap down. Up in this lead group, we've got 23 drivers, back to the 111 of Ron Hagelin. Grant Wesley in the 88. Grant still winless this season. The 3-time champion eliminated back in the round of 8. Still trying to erase that goose egg in the win column here in season 62. As Brian Schilling now to his inside. Currently, in terms of the bonus point for most laps led, the top 3 drivers that have led the most laps tonight, all non-playoff drivers. Seminara has led 10, Josh Metallic led 9, and Donnie Garrett has led 7. So currently, that bonus point not really up for grabs for any of our championship drivers to take. So it looks like it's going to come down just purely to positioning here, and bonus points will not come into play. Schilling will get that lap led, but he had a lap led earlier. Already had gained that bonus point. Grant Wesley with a push from Tim Nofsker in the 088. Now, for Nofsker, being the 3rd driver in points, he has to finish ahead of both McClure and Schilling. He has to get Schilling by 2 positions and then get McClure by 11 positions. Ooh, 83 of Emmanuel Hartnett side to side there in the middle of the pack. That's a little scary. Second driver we've seen with some side to side here this evening. Seminara being the first. Schilling now moves up to the outside line in front of Nofsker. Is that to go for the lead, or is that to keep the 088 in his rearview mirror? Grant Wesley moved from the middle down to the bottom, and now he takes the top position. He'll get pushed there by Donnie Garrett. Hartnett has fallen back to the tail end of this pack, even though he's still side-to-siding. Should not be an issue at this point in time now. Kelly Causey, high, wide, and handsome in that 3rd line in the 00. Keith Bynum up there to help him. Josh Metallic. Brian Rawson there as well. Been a career year for Brian Rawson, despite the fact that he came into tonight's finale in a near impossible situation of winning the championship. 2 trips to victory lane, his first 2 career wins in the series, his first playoff berth, his first appearance in the Final Four. He was even the first repeat winner on the season as well. We've had some repeat winners here this season besides Rawson, but he was the first one. Then Tim Nofsker and Chuck McClure joined him as multi-time winners here in season 62. Saw Cy Jones getting put a lap down there in the 7. First car to go a lap down here tonight. Mike Mangialardi will be next on the list. Oh! Wow, I thought we had a wreck back here. Keith Bynum was all sorts of out of shape. Came down the track into somebody. A lot of banging off of each other. A lot of pinballing, but they all kept it straight. And we avoid near disaster there That would have been a very interesting yellow, because I think that would have put these drivers right on the cusp of being able to make it the rest of the way on fuel if they pitted at the 1 to green on the restart. But we do avoid the caution coming out. Some great heads-up driving back there in the middle of the pack. Nice save by Keith Bynum. Now everybody going to probably catch their breath, refocus up here. Nothing like a moment like that to have everybody just kind of sit up in their chairs and have to get their heart rate settled back down. Mangialardi going to go a lap down here in the 0:29, so currently with 2 drivers off the lead lap, the battle for the 2 lucky dog positions begins. Should we see a caution between now and the end of this race. Next driver they would catch would be the 36 of Jeff Crivello. Well, we were keeping tabs on it all night long. Bob Seminara looked like he was possibly going to win 2 in a row to win the bracket challenge, but with him having the connection problems, the early pit stop, currently running in a pack of 3 back in the 26th position. Joe DeSpirito, sitting in a battle for 7th place right now with Brian Schilling, is in good shape to take that championship for season 62. Jeff Crivello now going to go a lap down, so we'll keep tabs on him, Cy Jones, and Mike Mangialardi, 3 drivers battling for the 2 lucky dog positions. Grant Wesley trying to pick up his 2nd finale win of the season. Of course, as we mentioned, last night at Nashville Super Speedway, took the 2nd of the doubleheader races. Jeremy Jeffries won the 1st. Grant winning that 2nd race was enough for him to win the championship. Donnie Garrett right behind him there in the 77. Like I mentioned, he and Chuck McClure have been maybe the 2 most consistent drivers here the last few times we have visited Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, but Garrett is still looking for that 1st win on the season. And Randy Waugh having his best run of the season, I think, right there in that 3rd spot. Randy yet to get a podium here in the Talladega Challenge Series in season 62, and looking strong. Chuck McClure trying to close out this championship in 4th. And how about Ulysses Sandoval in the 0:96? Running solidly inside of the top 5. Well, might have a battle for 5th place as Brian Schilling pulls alongside of his right with help from Tim Nofsker. Chuck McClure doing exactly what he needs to do here tonight. I haven't seen him make any ultra-aggressive moves. They've been smooth, they've been calculated. They've been mostly in regards to where his other competitors for the championship are running. Ooh, man. Greg Palmer, a little loose right there through the tri-oval. Nice save, gathers it back up. Chuck McClure has been very much aware of where Schilling and Nofsker have been at all times, and he has planned his moves, his lane swaps accordingly. Looks like he's committed right now to the inside line. Some other drivers back here to keep an eye on. Might try and get a checkered flag before the conclusion of this season. Kelly Causey started all the way in the rear of the field, has made his way up into the top 10. John Godfrey in the 7-11. Saw him go to victory lane earlier on this season. Wasn't able to garner enough points, though, to get up into the top 20 in the standings for that win to count towards a playoff spot, but he'd love to become the 4th repeat winner on the season. After that great save through the tri-oval, you got Greg Palmer there in the 22. Keith Bynum on his outside in the 63. Greg Palmer going to victory lane in the season opener a couple of seasons ago. And a bit of a winless streak for him. Doug Kulik, who'll never forget one of the very early races that they had here for the Talladega Challenge Series at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, when he ended up picking up his first career win on a great strategy call, the timing of the yellow, allowing him to be able to just make his way to the start-finish line there. So we've got drivers on pit lane for what should be their final pit stop of the night. Randy Wall a little off into the grass, but gathers it back up. Grant Wesley, Donnie Garrett, Nofsker in this group. Remember, Nofsker was one of the first drivers onto pit lane in the early going. along with Mobbs and Dixon. They've now added Grant Wesley and Donnie Garrett to their posse. Saw Chuck McClure and Brian Schilling come to pit road on the same lap on the first cycle of pit stops. Do we see them come together again? Does Schilling do something a little bit different? A lot of radios lighting up. I think our race leader might be coming in this time. Oh, Brian Rawson's going to get spun into John Godfrey. Schilling way low is going to avoid it. Metallic is involved. Shelton has to go through the grass to avoid it all. I don't think she made the commitment line. Ooh, little contact on pit road there between Schilling and Bynum. I think Schilling did make his pit stall, though. Taking fuel only. McClure's going to go for right sides. There's Shelton, who had to avoid the commitment cone to avoid that wreck on the entrance of pit lane. Now she's going to have to make her way all the way back around. Hopefully she has enough fuel to do so. And I believe everybody... Oh, I was going to say. Thought there was a third group that was coming down, and it's Terry Bombard leading down this group, along with the lap cars of Cy Jones, Mike Mangialardi. Glenn Harris is in this pack, along with Javier Negron. Doug Hewlick nearly missed pit road, but he's in. Brian Rawson in as well. Shelton going to have to come back down pit lane this time. Going to lose a ton of track position. This is where the lead's going to cycle around to. It's going to be Grant Wesley. And Tim Knopfsker is in this pack. Chuck McClure tried to stay in touch with them, but he may fall back here to this group, which is starting to formulate behind Brian Schilling. Keith Bynum back on pit road. 63 must have had a speeding penalty. Jeff Crivello, Ulysses Sandoval also back in. Terry Bombard leaving pit road. That will give the lead to the 88 of Grant Wesley. McClure making a move there on Terry Bombard, who tried to throw the block. McClure now with Mark Paglia. They might be able by themselves to draft up to this group of 5. Provided they're in the slipstream, in the draft. We'll have to wait and see. They may have to rely on reinforcements because you've got a third pack back here with Schilling, Dante, Ricky, Greg Palmer, and Emmanuel Hartnett. Everyone should be good to make it on fuel. There's Crivello after his pass-through. Ten of Terry Bombard, black flag, speeding on pit road. Tough break for him. He was going to cycle out, well, somewhere around just inside, maybe just outside of the top 10. And he's going to have to come down pit lane here and serve the pass-through. Really difficult when you get hit with a speeding penalty this late in the race to be able to mount a comeback. Sure, you could get a caution to bunch you back up, but losing all that track position and starting towards the rear of the field, easier said than done to get all that track position back, especially dependent on how many laps you have left. Looks like the 6 of Brian Rawson may have also gotten a penalty, and wow, that was close. Normally, when you're coming off of pit lane at these racetracks, you're supposed to stay low and allow the leaders to go around the outside of you. Hopefully there was communication there, because it looked like the 88 was ready to go around the outside. The 6 jumped up to the outside line, and we very nearly had ourselves a wreck with the leaders. We avoided it, though. We're all good, as now Knopfsker has Paglia on his back bumper, who has brought along Chuck McClure. Brian Schilling back there trying to close up to this lead group as well. The problem here for both Knopfsker and Schilling is if the group that Schilling is with catches up, that's only 11 cars that are going to be in the lead pack. Remember, Schilling has to gain 10 positions on McClure. Knopfsker has to gain 11. There's not enough cars in this lead group for them to gain the points that they need. and they would need McClure to finish the last car of this pack. And right now, he's running the 7th car in line. So this is not a winnable scenario for the 088 or the Ford. The only way that they could have a chance at this championship is in the closing stages around the point of no return if Chuck McClure gets spun or something. That's the only way that he could lose enough positions for Knopfsker or Schilling to even have a shot at this championship. McClure just has to stay in this group, and he has to not be the last car running in this group, and he's got the championship wrapped up. Well, we know Chuck's a competitor, too. He'd love to end out the season as the only 3-time winner, win 3 in a row here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, kind of shades of Jeremy Jeffries from a couple of seasons ago. Mentioned about the fact that Grant Wesley last night won the finale in the championship. Monday night, Sean Prime won the finale and the championship at Michigan. So Chuck would love to be able to double down, winning the finale here in the championship as well. They've lost the 83 of Emmanuel Hartnett, so now there's only 10 cars up in this lead group. Every driver, every car that they lose puts the championship further and further out of reach for Knopfsker and Schilling. Grant Wesley now has lost numbers on the bottom. Only Donnie Garrett and Kelly Causey there with him. Tim Knopfsker leading the charge on the top with Paglia, McClure, and Schilling. And Knopfsker will go to the point. Tim Knopfsker, 2 wins during the playoffs. Back-to-back victories in the first 2 playoff races at Talladega. The first race of the first round and the first race of the round of 8, which made him the first driver secured into the Final 4. Had a 12th place run last week at Talladega, putting him 10 positions, 10 points back of Chuck McClure for the championship coming into tonight. Knopfsker is not in a must-win situation, but right now with where he's positioned and Chuck McClure is positioned, there's no way he can gain enough spots, gain enough points. Remember I told you your championship drivers always seem to find each other? Well, case in point, your 3 championship competitors, 1st, 3rd, and 4th, coming around at 10 laps to go in this season finale. Jessica Shelton, Ulysses Sandoval with the pass-through penalty. Shelton having to miss pit road, come back around another lap before she can make her pit stop. They're both going to go a lap down now. They fall into the free pass positions. Mike Mangialardi, Jeff Carvella, Brian Ross, and Cy Jones, Josh Metallic all a lap down as well. So Metallic didn't document him. He must have also gotten a pass-through penalty on that round of green flag pit stop. So tough break there for the driver that started on the pole position here tonight. Currently scored in last. Grant Wesley got shuffled out. He's now kind of boxed in behind Shelton and Sandoval. And he's probably going to lose touch with this lead group. So now Randy Waugh, 9th place car, might be the last one here. Nope, looks like Shelton and Sandoval might actually get Wesley back up into this conversation. We do have lap machines, so that means that our point of no return mark would be at the completion of lap 62, which we are fast approaching. Race could easily end under yellow, especially depending on how aggressive these drivers up in this pack end up getting. You've got Knopfsker and McClure and Schilling. They're all battling for the championship. Paglia is looking for 2 in a row. Dante Ricci, and only his 2nd start on the season. I believe it's only his 2nd start. Might be his 3rd. He's looking for a victory here. Greg Palmer, Donnie Garrett. We saw those 2 work together really well in the early portion of the season. They're nose to tail. Kelly Causey, Randy Waugh. Grant Wesley still not out of this yet either, as he's at the tail end of this lead pack. It's a question of when all bets are off. Right now we see the 3 championship competitors all running nose to tail. They all work together on the outside line to wrestle the lead away from Grant Wesley. But at what point here now does it come down to who's going to get that final checkered flag of season 62? We do have some more traffic up ahead. It's a pretty big pack of cars. Bob Dixon, Bob Seminara, Bernie Mobbs, Keith Bynum, and Terry Bombard all in that group. Actually, I believe that first car they'll encounter is the 39 of Josh Metallic, who'll go a second lap down. And then it would be that pack of 5 that I previously mentioned. Lap 60 on the board. 7 to go here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Right now, Chuck McClure in possession of the championship. Running in third, that's all he needs to be in. Nofsker and Schilling running in first and fourth, but not far enough ahead of the 17 to be able to gain on the losses they had last week at Talladega, enough to be able to wrestle the championship away from driver 17. Chuck's got to drive a very smart race right here. Again, he could drop to the tail end of this pack and still win the championship. And don't think these drivers don't know the calculations. I have multiple times asked drivers, did you have any time to think about the scenarios, how many points you needed, what positioning you need to be in? And they said, yep. It shocks me every time. With all the things they have to think about, they are still able to calculate in their head every type of scenario to be able to advance into the playoffs, lock themselves into the playoffs, or in the end of the season win the championship. Chuck McClure, I'm certain, knows the score, knows the scenario right now. Well, of our championship 4, as mentioned, 3 former champions. The driver that had the longest winless streak in terms of a championship was Tim Nofsker. He may not win the championship here tonight, but he could end out season 62 as the only 3-time winner. He's had 2 victories at Talladega, looking for his first on the season at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Meanwhile, Mark Paglia trying to sweep the round of the Final 4 after he found victory lane last week at Dega. Trying to take back-to-back here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. And Chuck McClure right now looking for back-to-back podiums to secure himself yet another championship in the Talladega Challenge Series. We have reached the point of no return. Lap 62 about to be completed. Next flag will end the race, so we give the usual disclaimer. If trouble breaks out, we will follow the race back to the caution or the checkers, whichever the case may be. We will go back under the pacing laps or post-race to look at any subsequent replays, but we will stay at the front and watch the battle back to the stripe. Some movement at the rear of the field. Greg Palmer, Dante Ricky, Donnie Garrett. Here we go. Inside line begins to form. Smoke up ahead. Smoke up ahead on the back straightaway. No caution. Not certain who that was or what that was. There were some skid marks there. Someone just blinked out. That's McClure and the 17. Doug Kulik and Jeff Crivello both just retired. I wonder if there was contact between those two, but it happened down below the racing surface. We stay green as here comes Dante Ricky for the race win. 3 laps to go at BSR. Dante's going to get himself clear. Got a lot of help there on that inside line. All these drivers realize the 3 are battling for the championship. Let them battle it out. We're going to get this checkered flag. Nofsker with a big push from Paglia draws back even with Dante. Numbers are on the bottom. Only 4 of them on the top, 8 of them on the inside line. Can the numbers game work? Shelton to the bottom, shades back up to the top. Dante about half a car length advantage through the tri-oval here, coming to 2 to go. Up to this point, we had all 29 drivers still running, but Jeff Crivello will get scored 29th. Doug Kulik will get scored 28th, as both of them will not reach the conclusion. Push is about to come to shove here as a lap and a half remain. Nofsker and Ricky still in a deadlock at the front of the field. Somehow, the 4 cars on the top are making just as much speed as double the numbers on the bottom, and made more so that time down the back straightaway. Nofsker looking to clear back to the lead, but Dante pulls back alongside through 3 and 4. Third lane may start to form. Grant Wesley looking up there. Shelton offering the drafting help. Would anybody be willing to go up there and try the third line? That's coming around to receive the white flag. 1 lap to go here in the season. Nofsker still committed to the middle. Dante drives it deep on the bottom. Grant Wesley Shelton still hoping somebody will jump up to that third line. A lot of movement in the middle there. Some blocking maybe going on. Nofsker to Paglia to McClure. Dante's going to have one final drive into 3. Palmer out of shape on the apron. That may have lost them the momentum they needed. Off of 4. Nofsker clear. Paglia might be clear. Does he try to make a move? Nofsker looking in his rearview mirror. No move out of the 28. Tim Nofsker is going to win the season finale, his 3rd win of the season, and bringing it home P3. Chuck McClure is your season 62 Talladega Challenge Series champion. And the celebration begins off of turn number 2. Nofsker with the win, Paglia with back-to-back top 2 finishes in the round of 4, and Chuck McClure with back-to-back podiums in the round of 4 to claim another championship in the Talladega Challenge Series. Brian Schilling will bring it home in 4th. The 3 drivers mathematically in the hunt for the championship make up 75% of the top 4. There is Brian Rawson, who was the 4th driver in the Final 4. He's going to finish a lap down in 21st. But by far his highest finishing points position in his career in the Talladega Challenge Series is Tim Nofsker. Going to bring it around here. 17 of Chuck McClure already making his way through the trial with the start-finish line. We're going to get ourselves maybe some dual burnouts here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Well, Chuck McClure, he fired the first shot last week. Came in with what may not have seemed like a sizable points gap. 9 over Schilling, 10 over Nofsker, but did everything he needed to do tonight, whether on offense or on defense. And your race winner and your champion gonna burn it down together on the front straightaway here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. We'll be talking with Nofsker, as well as Chuck McClure, our winner and our champion. Also our other podium finisher, Mark Paglia, hopefully tonight. Last week after his victory, he was having microphone issues, so we weren't able to verbally talk to him. We'll see if maybe we'll be able to verbally talk with him tonight. This may be a very lengthy burnout celebration for Chuck McClure. Remember, McClure didn't win during the regular season. It wasn't until the playoffs began that he found victory lane. He had to point his way into the postseason. But then as soon as the playoffs began, it was like Chuck found a new gear. Going to victory lane in both of the elimination races here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway in the first and second round of the playoffs, and then back-to-back podiums here in the final round. A second last week at Talladega, and 3rd here tonight. Easily by far would have had the best average finish during the playoffs of all of the championship competitors. And now Paglia going to make his way down pit road. Let's see where he's headed. Might be heading down to his pit box. Rolled off the grid from the 20th position tonight. Started mid-pack. 3rd of the championship 4 off the grid. Oh, he's going past his pit stall. I might be turning around to go back into it. Oh, actually, I wonder if he might be heading over to park on the RTG logo. Let's see. Nope, there's the RTG logo. Where is he headed? Oh, he's got to park right on the Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway logo? That's exactly what he's going to do. Chuck McClure is your Season 62 champion as we take a look at your official finishing results from the final race of the season. Nofsker brings it home for his third win on the season. Mark Paglia in second. Chuck McClure, the champion, in third. Brian Schilling will finish it out in fourth place. Fifth will be Dante Ricky. Great top five run for him in his limited time schedule. Greg Palmer was sixth. Randy Waugh, seventh. Donnie Garrett in eighth. Ninth place was Grant Wesley and Kelly Causey. Completed the top 10. They were the only drivers up in that lead pack on the lead lap. Manuel Hartnett with the second group will finish in 11th. Javier Negron 12th. Glenn Harris 13th. Joe DeSpirito is your Season 62 Bracket Challenge champion, is still bringing it home in 14th. Ron Hagelin in 15th. John Godfrey, Keith Bynum, and Terry Bombard were the last drivers to finish on the lead lap. Ulysses Sandoval, Jessica Shelton complete the top 20. They were the first cars one lap down. Brian Rawson 21st. Mike Mangialardi, Bernie Mobbs, Bob Seminara, Bob Dixon down through 25th. Tough break there for Bob Seminara, who was looking like he was going to make it a battle for the bracket championship, but had internet connection problems midway through this race. Cy Jones 26th, 2 laps down for Josh Metallic after starting on the pole. He was the last car to finish, and the Doug Kulik and Jeff Crivello had something happen on the back straightaway that I thought might nearly bring out a yellow. Saw the skid marks and the plume of smoke midway down the backstretch. Didn't bring out a yellow, but they did not reach conclusion. They finished 28th and 29th here this evening. Well, as we head into our FRN post-race wind-down, let's see if we can dial up our podium finishers here tonight. Now, under normal circumstances, we usually will go from the third position up to the race winner. However, since the driver that finished third place here tonight ended up winning the championship, we're going to save McClure for last. So we're actually going to go a little bit out of order here, and we're going to see if we can dial up the driver that brought it home second place here tonight. Hopefully we're able to talk with him here this week and maybe get a little insight of last week as well after he took the checkered flag at Talladega. Let's see if we can dial up the driver of the 28, Mark Paglia.
User was moved to
Hey, Mark, Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got me?
I sure do, Seth. What you doing, man?
I'll tell you what a final round of the playoffs here for you. I know you were a non-playoff contender, but the win last week at Talladega, second place and in the conversation here tonight. I mean, first off, the thing that kind of springs to my mind is this is some really good momentum in preparation for Season 63.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Exactly what was on my mind. I had a tough big start of the season this year, and I just couldn't catch my groove. But towards the end, 2 weeks ago I got 8th, which was a top 10. I was happy with that. No wrecks. And then last week, with a lot of help from Chuck, I got a good win. And then today I was be able to ride with my 3 other teammates there was awesome.
Yeah, let's talk about that because this racetrack seems to always kind of surprise me in terms of just when I think I have it figured out, something else happens. I mean, we've seen the usual here where the middle line will get stalled out when the third line happens, but you guys were outnumbered 2-1 in terms of car count there. Only 4 of you up on the top, 8 drivers down the bottom, and you were making just as much, if not more speed in your 4-car group than the drivers on the inside line, keeping Nofsker side by side with Dante for lap after lap after lap. How were you guys able to do that, or do you even know the answer?
Well, I'm going to have to make a guess here, and then my uneducated guess is that we ran really tight even through the turns. We were on each other's bumper. We had a good draft going, and there was a lot of communications. And Tim, who was leading our line, he was telling the rest of us to make sure we were low, especially through the turns, to keep that bottom line, tucked, so they'd scrub off a lot of speed when they came out.
Now, obviously, we've seen you, the 088, the 17, the 4, all work together during the course of the season. Coming into tonight and even last week as well, with all 4 of those drivers being in the championship hunt, is it difficult for you as a driver to be in that kind of a pivotal situation, working with them, knowing that they're battling for a championship, or is it easier than it looks?
No, it was pretty difficult. I was whispering to Chuck and to Brian behind me that I was considering on that last lap just, going high and let those 2 go underneath me and have the top three in the playoffs, be the top three in the finish tonight. But Chuck was adamant that I keep my line, and I earned my spot, and he said you need to stay there. So it's tough working with those guys. They're awesome. There's from top to bottom at RTG, we're all good drivers, and those three really helped me, and I just try to emulate what they're doing all the time.
Well, a great way to end out the season. Great to be able to verbally congratulate you on your victory last week at Talladega, and you follow it up with a solid second place tonight to cap off season 62. Congratulations on a great closeout and hopefully a great start to next season. Before we let you go, Mark, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Well, I appreciate that, and a shout out to Dave Cannon and Bones for doing a great job with this league, and all the other admins, especially Josh. On Thursday night, he has help with Tim and Wiley, so those guys do a great job on Thursday. It's the most popular night of the week for us, and shout out to my other two teammates besides Tim. We got Tim and Chuck and Brian. The four of us work well together, and I still haven't been able to say something about Robbie Nisus. I had that sticker on the back of my car, and it's brought me nothing but good luck. And it's too bad that it has to be a sad situation to bring me some luck like this. But Robbie was always a great guy, and he's always, he had a gift of gab. He always had a good story. We always enjoyed listening to him on TeamSpeak, and he's always a good racer. And he's really missed. I just wanted to give a shout out to Rob and his family. He loved his kids, so I appreciate that.
Well, representing that decal well for sure. Back-to-back podium finishes, back-to-back top two finishes to close out the season. Mark Paglia, runner-up finisher here tonight. Congratulations once again on a great close to season 62. Enjoy your couple of weeks off, and then right back at it for season 63 on the 29th.
Sounds great. Thanks, Seth.
Mark Paglia, second place here
User
this
was moved
evening.
out of your channel.
One of multiple winners on the season, but only one driver will sit atop the statistics here in season 62 with 3 trips to victory lane. He got his first 2 during the playoffs at Talladega. He gets his third one here in the finale at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Let's go down to victory lane and dial up Tim Nofsker.
User was moved
Hey, Tim,
to
Seth
your
up here in
channel.
the FRM booth. You got me?
Yeah, Seth, how you doing?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. Obviously, I know you wanted the championship. Been a long time since you've won a championship here in the Talladega Challenge Series, but does at least having a third win on the season kind of cool the burns just a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, if you look at the Final Four, I really would have been tickled pink to see any one of those 3 guys win it. I think they're all great racers and great guys. So either way, I was going to be satisfied.
Points were close coming into tonight. I mentioned about the fact it seems like it doesn't matter what season, what mod, what drivers. Whenever we get down to the Final Four, they always seem to find each other. It kind of looked like you might have been of the same mindset because we saw you do something maybe a little un-Nofsker-esque at the beginning of this race. That first cycle of pit stops, you were one of the first ones to dive onto pit roads. So was that something originally planned, or did you think let's try a little bit something in terms of strategy, see if it works out to gain me track position?
Well, who is it, McReynolds, that says if you follow the leader, you'll follow the leader. So I knew I had to do something a little bit different. On the weekly, I usually look for Chuck, Brian, Mark to pit with. That way we have the numbers, at least 4 of us. We try to strategize together, but I figured tonight, I'm going to give it my all and see what happens. So yeah, I kind of got just a little offset with those guys. Just trying something different.
Well, I loved the strategy call there. If you got the caution, might have worked out in your favor. But nonetheless, here tonight, let's talk about that final battle in the closing stages, because I was talking with Mark about this just moments ago. You 4 on the outside line were outnumbered 4 cars to 8 cars. The momentum more than likely should have been on the bottom, but you guys were producing as much, if not more speed, keeping it deadlocked with Dante leading that inside line. Now, Mark attributes it to just the fact that you guys are comfortable, tight drafting with each other. But with what we've seen here out of this particular racetrack, how sometimes the middle line has the momentum, but other times it's just like the momentum's completely gone. How much confidence did you have that you guys would be able to keep that up for lap after lap? Or was there maybe some doubt in your mind that there was going to be maybe just that one moment where all of a sudden your momentum was going to get lost and you guys were going to find yourself at the tail end of that lead group?
Well, in reality, I am so comfortable with Mark, Chuck, Brian, any one of those three guys pushing me. And when we're all four together, I mean, it's just a good draft. I had to dig into my racer's bag of tricks there a little bit, and I was holding them tight. And I told Mark, just run your line through the corner, and you'll have momentum coming off to boost me up in front of them. And it seemed to work out pretty well. But yeah, I mean, you can't do this kind of racing on your own, and without someone to help you and be dedicated to helping you. And you have to also return the favor. I mean, there's a lot of guys say, yeah, why don't you help me? Well, you got to help to get help, you know. And usually if any one of those guys are in front of me, I'm committed to them the whole way. It just so happens that I was out front at this moment and we were able to hold off the charge on the inside there.
Well, you came into tonight one of multiple drivers that had multiple wins on the season, but you'll be ending out season 62 as the only driver to go to victory lane in 3 races. All 3 of your wins during the playoffs as well. Your first win of the season at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. I'll let you get back to your celebrating here in just a moment, but for now, we're handing the victory lane microphone over to you for some thank you sponsors and shoutouts, Tim.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say congratulations to Chuck. I think he built up a pretty decent cushion last week, and you know, if you can't give him 10 points in a race, he will just, you have no chance. I don't care if there's 100 cars out there. He's that good. So I knew it was going to be an uphill climb coming in. So congrats to Chuck. I'd also like to congratulate Joe DeSpirito. He won the bracket. I felt bad that Bob had some connection issues and kind of took him out of the running for that because he had such a great race last week. Also, I want to congratulate Brian Showing, Brian Rawson, and obviously Chuck for making the Final Four. And then a little extra appreciation for what Brian Rawson did this season. You know, you have that light switch moment where it just happens for you. You know, you feel like you're beat down racing and race out, having issues, and then suddenly things just go your way. So I was so happy to see him. I kind of was in contact with him for a long time about coming back to it, and I'm glad he did. And I think he's having a good time. So what he did this season was monumental, to say the least. And then I'd like to give a thank you to Bones Prime Shack, the guys that kind of keep the lights on for us. Also like to give a shout out to Josh and Wiley, and my thoughts go out to Wiley. He's having some issues, couldn't be with us again this week, but hopefully he gets things straightened out and can come back with us for the start of next season. And then I'd also like to thank you for the great broadcasts, whether you're by yourself or with a co-conspirator. It always goes off flawlessly and looks real good. So we're super happy with what FRN can do for us. And other than that, I think I'm done. That was long-winded, but hopefully well taken.
Well, solid way to end out season 62. Did what you had to do to try and get that championship. Come up short on that, but 3 wins here on the season. A lot of great momentum heading into season 63 as well. So congratulations on the job well done tonight. Go enjoy that victory. Enjoy your couple of weeks off, and then right back at it. Maybe keep this momentum going for the start of season 63.
Sounds great. Thank you.
That's Tim Nofsker, your winner here tonight
User
in the
was
finale
moved
at
out of
Burnt
your channel.
Screwdrivers Raceway. Let's now go down to the championship podium. Third place tonight nets Chuck McClure, his 5th championship in the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. Let's see if we can dial him up.
User was moved to
Hey,
your
Chuck,
channel.
it's Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got me?
Hey, Seth, how you doing?
I'll tell you what, a lot of times we'll talk about drivers' winless streak in regards to races. But your last championship here in the Tally Challenge 10 seasons ago in season 52. I remember that season. I remember you won that championship, but I don't think you've ever had as dominant a season as you had here. Now, it took a little bit of time to get going. The consistency was there during the regular season, but it's like all of a sudden a switch was flipped once the playoffs began. You won the elimination race in the first round, the elimination race in the round of 8 to advance to the final 4, and then back-to-back podiums here in this final round. I mean, obviously the most consistent driver in the playoffs as well, but I talked to you last week. You know, we talked about, do you go offense, do you go defense? I saw a little bit of it here tonight. So what were you more in, the defensive or the offensive mode?
Well, I knew who I was fighting. I just wanted to stay with them, and they they was messing with me, and they split it up a little bit during the pit stop. But we all got back together. I knew if I run with them, I had it. And those guys are the ultimate teammates. All those guys support me. I support them, and it was just a great team effort this year.
You had the cushion coming into tonight. Obviously, I asked drivers, did you know what the scenario was where you need to finish and everything? Was there any point there in the closing stages? Because there was some really tight side-by-side racing there with your championship competitors as well as a number of non-championship drivers that were looking for that final checker flag of the season. Was there any point you were a little nervous of what was going on and maybe kind of wondering, do I give a little bit of extra room here? Do I back off just a little bit because I don't want to throw this points lead away?
Yeah, I was nervous from the drop of the green, and I come into pits like a grandma driving. I didn't want to screw it up. Kept telling myself, "Don't screw it up. Just stay with those guys, and you'll be okay."
I mentioned about the fact a former champion in the series, now 5 championships. What's this do as far as the confidence and the momentum heading into season 63? Because as I said, most consistent driver during the playoffs. I mean, you've had multiple finishes inside of the podium. It's going to be a couple of weeks off. Can you keep the hotness, can you keep the heat going when the green flag drops in 2 weeks?
I hope so. You know as well as I do, the racing is full of highs and lows, and uh, being the champion, you're gonna have a target on your back. Nobody wants you to win or do well anymore. But if I can stay with my teammates, man, I mean, we're unstoppable. One of the 4 of us was going to win this year. We all had our mindset on it, and sure enough, we did it.
We talk about the fact that in the final round of the playoffs now with the reformat, the 2-race final round, you don't necessarily need to win, just got to be consistent and win the championship. And Chuck McClure did exactly that. Second last week in the first race of the round of 4 and a podium 3rd place finish tonight to wrap up the championship. Chuck, job well done here this season. Incredible final run to the finale this evening. Congratulations on winning your 5th championship in the series. We're now going to give you the opportunity for some, podium and championship thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
I appreciate that, Seth. Well, first off, you guys on FLM, you guys do a phenomenal job. I can't wait to watch it again. I want to say hi to all my family and friends at Marshall County Schools where I work, everybody that supported me through all this. And I'm going to say that our prayers are going out with Wiley Code and Rodney. I know they're both having a tough time at it. And of course, we're all going to miss Robbie Nices and all the admins here, Josh, Prime, Bones, Tim, Brian, all my teammates, Mark Paglia, Brian Rawson. He was a great competitor this year, worked with us a lot, and Race LM. And of course, Rodney again for putting the paint on the car. It's awesome. I appreciate it.
Well, Chuck McClure, he is your season 62 RTG Talladega Challenge champion, and he will look to carry this momentum into season 63. Once again, job well done, Chuck. Congratulations on the great finish here tonight, that championship trophy. Enjoy it, and we look forward to seeing what you're able to do in 2 weeks' time when we kick off season 63.
Appreciate it, Seth. I enjoyed it.
Chuck McClure, your
User was
champion
moved out
tonight,
of your
3rd
channel.
place, all he needed to be able to net the championship. The official final points are in. Nofsker with the victory is going to finish out the year second in overall points, 5 points short of the championship, but he will be the only 3-time winner in season 62. Brian Schilling will finish 10 points back in third, 48 points back for Brian Rawson, but as we heard there from Tim, career year for driver number 6. I was looking real quickly here at the statistics of Chuck McClure's last championship back in season 52 in comparison to his championship here in season 62. Remember back, his last championship was back when they ran the Men Cup 2019 cars. We've since had 2 mod changes from the trucks over to the Aero 88s. Now, the thing that stands out the most to me is his stats are pretty similar. 2 victories in season 52. He had 2 victories here in season 62. He had 5 top 5s in his previous championship season, 7 top 5s this season. He then had 8 top 10s in season 52, 9 in season 62. But the thing that stands out the most, you take a look at his average finishing position. Season 52, it was an average finish position of 11.43. He improved it this season to an average finish of 9.43, and during the playoffs, never finished lower than 9th position. Chuck McClure, unbelievable playoffs to cap this off. Had 2 of those victories during the playoffs, and then a second and a third in the final round to bring home the championship. So congratulations once again to him. Congratulations to Nofsker on his victory here tonight. Congratulations to Joe DeSpirito on winning the bracket challenge. And cannot wait to see what we've got in store for season 63. I always look at the usuals we have up at the front, drivers that we think are going to be sure lock-ins to make it into the championship. And usually my statistics are kind of on point, but not all the time. Some surprises this season. Brian Rawson obviously being a big one, picking up 2 victories very early on the season. Grant Wesley with a 0 in the win column. Who had that on their bingo card? And then you got a number of drivers that showed a lot of speed here on just a part-time schedule. Manuel Hartnett, Javier Negron, these drivers that are kind of now making their way in halfway through the season. What happens if they run a full-time season next season? We could see them go to Victory Lane, could see them point their way into their first playoff berth. Cannot wait to see what unfolds. We appreciate everybody tuning to our coverage here tonight and during the course of this entire 62nd season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage. If you did, be sure to like this broadcast. Be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification for whenever we go live here. Again, we're going to have a couple of weeks off before these drivers gear back up for season 63. August 17th will be the next time that we go live here on FRNs. We'll bring you the second iteration of the Talladega Nights Mega Team Race. And of course, as well, be tuned into JTN this coming Saturday, August the 10th, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as they will bring you coverage of the Bomb Squad Racing Robbie Nisus Memorial event from Talladega Superspeedway. Not going to want to miss it. Head on over there and support them on Saturday. Once again, thank you all for tuning into our coverage here tonight. Chuck McClure is your Season 62 RTG Talladega Challenge Series champion. I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your